we listening to the Narok Senator Ledama Olekina speaking as he was trying to explain what was happening. He said, among other things, that in the Senate, like today, the elected senators, we had 23 on the Azimio side and 23 on the Kenya Kwanza side. And then we have 2 of those Azimio ones. They belong to UDM, which has switched over to Kenya Kwanza. But, you know, according to legally, it is a part of Azimio. And that the same thing is being replicated in the National Assembly, where UDM members and Maendeleo Chap and the other parties are officially in Azimio, but they have switched and they can't move until after 3 months. So what is going to happen really in terms of, because Kenya is a presidential system, it's not a parliamentary system. So parliament is supposed to be, you know, bipartisan. Why is it so important that, you know, numbers, government has to have numbers, and this other side also wants to have numbers so that they can frustrate government and all that?
You know, Ben, one of the things that we need to appreciate about this country is that there is no ideological divide between what you call Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. In fact, today what played out is very interesting. That Amason Kingi, until the other day, was part and parcel of ODM.
He's a life member.
He's a life member, yeah. Well, he's now, he could have resigned, he could have joined this other party. Moses Wetangula, apart from being a Ford Kenya member, was a member of NASA the other day and worked with Raila in the other regime. Same to Musalia Mudavadi, and same to William Ruto. At some point, he was a member of the Pentagon, so was Musalia, and so on. So basically, when what you're looking at is not about ideological. So at any one given time, depending on what interests you are serving, people coalesce. So she's right to say that when it came to now voting for a speaker, it was no longer about Azimio or Kenya Kwanza. If you are from the coast, you wanted to go with your guy. That's why Stuart Mazeo decided, no. If this guy has been elected, why? Because then we have had our coastal share. Similarly to what happened in the National Assembly.
Yeah.
I can bet that there were people in Azimio who voted for Moses Masika Wetangula just because they knew he already had numbers and that he was likely to be, so they went that way. That said, basically the 2 issues we are dealing with, and this country is interesting. We do not have a purely presidential system, neither do we have a parliamentary system, but we have a mix of both.
All right.
So that when you are in the executive, you want to have a handle on the legislative, because certain parts of your agenda actually run around, not just the legislative agenda, but also your programmatic agenda in terms of the budget process and so on. Remember, with the establishment of the office, budget office, parliamentary budget office, budgeting is actually a function of the National Assembly, and that the executive simply works together with the National Assembly to get government resourced. So for that reason, you want to have a good handle on both sides. If you are the president, you want to make sure that your programs can run, right, and that your you know, allies can actually help you to achieve your agenda. And that's what was playing out today. And we must respect that as an institution of democracy. However, that said, I want to say this on, I think today is the 8th. With the arrival of Kenya Kwanza, and perhaps not even Kenya Kwanza, because even that alliance is yet to be cobbled together, but with the arrival of UDA and the nature of politics that are playing out, we are likely to see a rebirth of one-party politics. Mm-hmm. So that you have people who are legally on one side of the party sitting on this other side of the party. In the past, what Moi did is that you were elected, then he asked you to defect, because then you would come and be voted for in Kano. I mean, that is a little changed now, but we also know that we have a new law that is actually going to help to stem that. But it is in this country that we are, and we know what happens. I was very intrigued yesterday when I saw in a briefing of one of the parliamentary group, there was a level of confidence that we already have 10, 15, or even 20 of people who are not here but who are also on the other side, right, who are going to be with us. So with that kind of confidence, you can be sure that knowing who we are going to run a one-party state in the next couple of months.
Kipchumba Karori, are we headed back to a de facto one-party state?
I would like to honorably differ with my teacher on 2 fronts. when we had the handshake, they did not call it a one-party state, but it was actually, it was an overthrow of our constitution. I am, as a Democrat,
from saying that.
as a Democrat,
I mean, the current president-elect has always said that.
yeah, and I am prosecuting this to the extent that we are a multi-party democracy. We should remain as so. But if we cascade down to our constitution, it says the function of a member of parliament are to oversight, legislate, and represent, and that budget-making process. So at the end of the day, we do not try to endeavor and create other creatures outside that which the Constitution has stated. Because if you read the Constitution purposively, you realize that there is no opposition member of parliament and there is no government member of parliament. Both of them are there to serve the four functions. And that's why I also submit that I hope in the 13th parliament, they will not try to reinvent CDF, for example, which is nowhere around the law. Because by doing that, we are trying to co-opt more powers away from what the law has given us. And secondly, also on the issue of whether we are becoming a multi-party or something, then you have to realize that at the end of the day, you cannot, for example, tie the conscience of the independent, the 20 or so independent, are they 20 or 12?
12.
The 12 independent members of parliament to one side. If they feel today that the idea being brought about by Kenya Kwanza is worth them to coalesce there, they will go there.
All
so
right.
because it is one
Kipchumba.
nation.